Hi, I'm Joaquin.
I'm Matt, and I'll be the teacher.
And I'm Jared Williams. I'm the cameraman.
Talk about the origins of the American French Revolution, and it's just the origins today because these revolutions are there's too much to cover in so much small time. So I'll talk about what events led up to the revolution, to the movements of independence and revolution, and then tomorrow, another day, we'll actually go in depth and talk about details, specifics. So if I had to generalize colonial American society just as a whole in its most basic terms, I would put it like this. Most of the colonists are white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. They are known as WASPs. They come from either English or Scottish descent. They are Protestant, meaning that they are Baptists or Anglicans or Presbyterians. Anything that's not Catholic, that is them. There are some differences. There are Quakers in Pennsylvania, but they're mostly Protestants. You have slaves, obviously, in places like Virginia, the middle colonies, Virginia and Maryland. Then you have Native American, also in southern colonies like the Carolinas and Georgia. And of course you have Native Americans. And that would be colonial American society. However, you have society which is structured and broken down into three distinct estates. And they are the first, second, and third estate. The first estate is the clergy, and they are referred to those that pray. The second estate is the nobility, sometimes you hear them referred to as the aristocracy. And they are referred to as those that fight, and they believe themselves to be a superior, their own distinct race. They feel like the aristocracy is passed on through lineage, through blood. And the third estate is the peasantry and the small-scale artisans and the workers, and they are referred to as those that work, and they are the overwhelming majority of the French population. There's something to note here. The first and second estate, they pay absolutely no taxes at all. The first and second estate, they are tax exempt. The third estate, however, they pay all the taxes. So if I had to ask you guys, what is one similarity between these two societies, colonial America and France, what would you guys say?
They have the wealthy people are the minority, and the sort of peasant class is the majority.
Absolutely. So whereas in colonial America, you have slave owners, plantation owners, especially in the South, guys who have unbelievable wealth. They're wealthy, but they just don't have this official title. They're just wealthy, just like today, they're upper class. Whereas in France, you have a distinct place in society. Now, just something to note here that the estate that you're born in is most likely the estate that you will die in. So if you're born in the third estate, chances are you will die in the third estate. If you're born in the first estate, chances are you will die in the first estate. And so, although there is movement for fluidity, for the most part, you stay where you are. The fundamental answer, the most basic answer is economics. It's taxes. Britain started imposing more and more taxes on the American colonists at the end of the 7 Years' War in 1763. And it's not that the American colonists were angry about the taxes. They were to some degree. What they're angry about, really, is a lack of representation. The American colonists felt that it was unfair that across the ocean in England, that the British Parliament would impose their own reforms, their own measures on the American colonists without American say. So Americans, yes, they didn't want to be taxed, they didn't agree with it, but they felt that it was without their consent. That is why they were so against it. That's why you get the whole saying, no taxation without representation. Eventually, after 13 years of strife, in 1776, you have the Declaration of Independence written by Thomas Jefferson. And he was highly influenced by John Locke, an English philosopher. And lastly, this issue of newspapers is crucial in the American Revolution. And I'll explain that in 1 minute. In France, one of the most basic cause also is taxes. It's economic. However, as I mentioned earlier, the first two estates, the clergy and the aristocracy, they are tax exempt. They pay no taxes at all. So who feels the burden? It's the third estate. That is a problem. Why? Well, because they're being taxed as it is, not the money for it. Secondly, there's a famine going on due to very, very brutal winters that wiped out much of the crop, much of the grain. The French staple, which is bread, is in shortage. So as a result, people are literally dying and they're hungry. So this leads to a lot of strife. There's social angst, there's economic angst. In 1789, eventually leads to the Declaration of Rights of Man and Citizen, similar to the American Declaration, but this was influenced influenced by Jean-Jacques Rousseau, an enlightened philosopher. And just like in the American colonies, newspapers are absolutely crucial, and they're crucial for this reason. Not only are newspapers able to strengthen nationalism, in this case, in both France and America, the American colonies, newspapers actually create nationalism. They create unity. They create empathy among their readers. As a result, more people, as a result of reading them, buy into the movement in both American colonies and in France. So newspapers are crucial to both movements. Okay, so if I ask you guys one similarity between the two revolutionary movements, it would be
Taxation.
taxation, economics, exactly. Both of them were based on taxation. However, there are two differences also, in addition to taxation, which also drove the revolutionary movement. They would be, do you guys know? Anybody know?
Political representation.
That is key, that is crucial. In addition to taxes, the American colonists felt that they were being unjustly taxed precisely because they didn't give their consent to Parliament to tax them. They felt that they should have representation in Parliament to have a say in their own affairs. There's another one, does anybody else know? For France.
Well, in France, there was like a famine and people were dying.
Exactly, because of the brutal winters that knocked out much of the crop. The shortage of grain led to a shortage of bread, and as a result, people were literally dying as a result of this famine. You can't afford the bread, so as a result, there was a shortage of food, and there was widespread hunger and famine and social angst. Differences within both revolutionary movements themselves. In America, the revolutionaries, the leaders, were actually the social elites. They were the wealthy, they were the educated, they were those who had money. In France, it's the opposite. In France, this really is the people's movement. Much of the revolutionary motivation and just participation comes from the third estate, those that feel it the most. So as a result, it's skewed. It's the opposite. So if I had to ask you guys, in terms of revolutionary leadership, which of the two revolutions, the American or the French, would take its course to become more radical? Would it be the French or would it be the Americans? Anybody know?
The French, they need like a whole system change. People are starving. There's a lot of
Exactly. They want to overthrow the whole system. They feel like the measures that are going on aren't radical enough. So it's the people themselves, especially the very, very poor people, the common worker, the common man, that really want and just drive for these radical reforms because they feel that since they feel it the most, that they feel that it's required, it's necessary. I made some generalizations about both revolutions and these movements. I could say that there are three that both of them share. Would anybody want to make a guess or make an answer and answer the question? Identify one of them?
taxes.
Taxes are crucial for both. The taxes themselves are taxed differently and how they are implemented, but taxes is at the basis of both of them. Anybody else?
Yeah, both declarations were influenced by Enlightenment and philosophy.
That's exactly right. So in America, the American Revolution, the Revolution of Independence, written by Thomas Jefferson, was influenced by John Locke. In France, the Declaration of Rights of Man and Citizen was written by Rousseau. They are both enlightened philosophers, and they are crucial to both movements. And there's one more, I would say.
Newspapers.
Newspapers are crucial because newspapers really help create this idea of unity and nationalism, and it's through newspapers that really they help bring in people into the movement, to the cause, and continue the revolution itself. Very nicely done. So this painting right here, if you're able to break it down, because you guys are critics, if you guys are able to break this down, you can easily understand and get a sense of what the artist is trying to say. Does anybody know what the artist is saying here?
Yeah, both of the estates, the first and the second, which are the wealthy and the clerics, are actually going on top of the worker class, which is the third estate.
That's exactly right. So if you notice this guy, he has holes in his clothes. He's a farmer. He's a peasant because that's a sickle, which harvests wheat. He's literally carrying on his back the first and second estate, the clergy and the aristocracy. And so in this, the artist trying to say that the third estate is literally carrying the nation on its back. If you notice, the first estate, the clergyman, he is fat. So unlike the third estate, which they're rioting or revolting over just for bread to live because there's so much hunger, these two estates, there is no food shortage, there is no hunger, they are well off, and because they're Maximilian Robespierre, trained as a lawyer by trade, he leads what we call the most radical, the most violent, most bloody-faced entire revolution, the Terror. The Terror is when 40,000 people were executed, including the king, Louis XVI, the queen, Queen Marie Antoinette. Counter-revolutionaries were eliminated. This guy right here, for almost 1 year, was in charge of the country, and he took it in a very severe and very violent direction. Maximilian Robespierre. And tomorrow we'll go more in depth about it because it is crucial for the revolution. Never get you guys motivated and anxious and just willing to come to class and want to learn more. I included a little clip. It's only 15 seconds, but it's my attempt of humor and satire to get you guys willing to show up, motivated, and ready to learn. This is from the show Family Guy.